An artist is the result of an experiment, a painstaking process to reach a level of excellence and perfection of one's craft. We see the finished product, but often fail to realize that each artist was refined, shaped, and developed in the lab.
C. Scott with Culturocity.com. We're here with Jeremy Thomas, talking to him about his music. His current album is called I Am. It's available wherever music is sold. You want to get a copy of this. This brother's bad. He's really down to earth. We're just here talking to him, learning a little bit about Jeremy Thomas, the man, his influences, how he got started in music, and also his group, the Jeremy Thomas Quartet. Check us out on Culturocity.com and be looking out for more great music from Jeremy Thomas in the future. We're here at Greater Concord Missionary Baptist Church, where Jeremy's father, LaVerne Thomas, is the pastor. This is the church that Jeremy grew up in, and we decided to bring it back to where it all started. Who is Jeremy Thomas?
I like that question. Jeremy Thomas is nothing more than a servant. That's all he is. He's a servant. Nothing more, nothing less.
What's in the future for Jeremy Thomas as a solo artist? And I want to talk to you about the quartet, but talk to you.
I'm going to put out some more music, put out another jazz mixtape of the most popular tunes on the radio, today's radio, hip-hop, R&B, pop, and taking out the lyrics and solo over instrumental-wise, and just to get everybody kind of like a Hidden Beach, what Hidden Beach does. So that's going to be in the future. Of course, another solo project, be featuring some more people. We even feature some of the musicians, wonderful musicians of the quartet on the future solo projects. Of course, there'll be other quartet albums. And just a wonderful, lots of stuff in it. I'm looking forward to it. So much beautiful things in store. So that's what people can see in the future.
Talk to us about the quartet. Who do you have in Jeremy Thomas Quartet?
Oh man, I got some of the baddest cats in the land. Our trumpet player he was a professor at UCO. He taught the jazz band there, and he also directed the band there for a little bit. Is Leah Rucker. He's on the trumpet. Fantastic trumpet player. He's done many great things. He's kind of like the father of the quartet. And really, he's the one that kind of started the group, that's another story. Then a guitar player, a good friend of mine, Mitch Bell. Mitch Bell on guitar. We share the same gifts in terms of how we perceive music when we hear and the synesthesia that takes place, which is the cross-wiring of the brain. Like we hear music, we see colors. We see colors and we hear music. It's really out there. Mitch Bell, ridiculous guitar player. And then the drummer, Willie Peterson. We've been playing together for a long time. Played it for the UCO Gospel Choir, which my brother Philip was director over for several years. Willie, man, he's a monster of a drummer. He'll make you dance. Even if you don't know how to dance, when he sits down and plays, you're going to get up and do something. So, yeah, those are the band members. Very good people, you know, more than just, you know, us playing together in a band, but we love to hang out.
Talk to us a little bit about your label, Mindful Media Group.
Mindful Media is founded by a wonderful person, dear friend of mine, known her since I was 9, 10 years old, Chanda Graham. Mindful Media is a group doing things. Of course, the name really speaks for itself. It's based off of the mindset of doing bigger things, stepping outside of the box. You know, the mindset of just bringing positive things here to the city. So Chanda, who sings with us from time to time, she's on a record. She's on a Drop Top record, singing on there. And a Thomas Street. She does a lot of singing, fantastic singer. She's also an attorney and also manages the band, and she's head of the label. So we're working together, and you know, she helped me do the solo project. And Christy Davis, too, is her partner in Atlanta, Georgia. And then Reggie Ganther is the engineer in the studio, 778 Music Group. You know, shout out to Reggie. All the hard work he's done, engineering all of the projects that I've done.
What advice would you give to aspiring musicians who can maybe follow in your footsteps?
I call it the PPL. Pray, put the Lord first. He'll bless you, I'm telling you. Practice, you gotta share. You know, at least 30 to an hour a day, 30 minutes to an hour a day. And then just love, you know, love people. You know, love what you do. Love the God that you serve. If you really do those things, you won't go wrong. That's a guarantee. You know, you put God first, you know, and seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. And then all these things shall be added unto you. So you seek him first, and all those things will be added. You want those cards? Seek God. He'll give you those cards. They're out there.
I bought him a bass guitar for graduation, and it was like he just picked it up like a duck in water and started playing that thing, and I was so envious. I said, "Man, how'd you learn how to play that thing so fast, man?" But it was just great to see him progressing in his music and the different instruments that we brought to the house, and watch him perfect it on not only him but his brothers as well.
We were singing, you know, all the time, and then I was playing my trombone up until 5 days before he was born because I couldn't carry it anymore. So he's always had music around him.
Surrounded.
Always had music around him.
He just said, I think I'm warmed up. He's warmed up now.
This is what I've always said. I would rather spend money on their music than have to pay their bill or you know, it always kept them out of trouble. We always knew where they were, because all of their friends would come over to the house, and they would start practicing around, you know, sometime in that morning, about 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning. It was 1 or 2 o'clock in the next morning when they got finished playing. So we always knew where they were. And so we had to develop patience, because it was, okay, is he ever going to stop? Okay, he's practicing. 1 hour went by, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours of practice, and he's still going strong. It's like, is he going to take a break? So we had to just kind of learn to block the sound out, and then just go ahead and practice. But we always knew where our children were, and that was a big blessing. And then also, you know, when children play music, they tend to do well in school as well. Mm-hmm. And so that was another thing that I can. That's a return of the investment in the music in their gifts. So I'm grateful for that.
And scholarships too.
Yeah,
he and Philip both got music scholarships to UCO, and that was very helpful.
I bet.
Yeah.
Full scholarships.
So how do y'all sleep when the music is being made?
Actually, when Jeremy was growing up, his room was right next to ours, and so the closet with the full all the clothes in there, and close the closet door, it was like a muffled sound. So you couldn't hear it. But if you went somewhere else in the house, it was awful. Not awful, but it was loud.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I had a system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it was always, I was always fascinated because when he would learn to play a new song, or he would hear something or create something new, and we would talk. I said, "Wow, is that new?"
He took all the pots and pans out of the kitchen. There was about 5 or 6 of them, and he arranged them from smallest to largest, and the sound, of course, went from, you know, in that order, and he would bang on the pots like drums. And so I thought, I just want to see, and so I mixed the pots around and put them in a different order, and he hit them, and then he knew they weren't the right way. He turned them around and put them back in order so they would be like a drum set.
Sometimes, you know, I could play the drums well enough to assist him for a little bit until he started getting into some more complex stuff. But I could go in there and play, and we just hang out and we talk, and you know, we play, or his brothers would play. But most of the time, I would go in there and I would hear him playing a new song, and I would just go over there and just keep the beat or just hit the cymbal for him.
Yeah.
You know, until he got too good, and then he'd tolerate me. Okay, Dad, that's enough. You know, so until his real drummer friends would come by and they would continue to play.
Well, obviously, there's no band, so I'll kind of be the band. You know, like I think I'm really warmed up now. I don't want to do y'all some injustice. Yeah, you want those cards? Seek God. He'll give you those cards. They're out there, you know, but he'll bring it to your knowledge, and your gifts and your talents will develop. So, you know, any musicians that I teach, students that I teach, you know, I bring a level of spirituality towards them to help them understand the music, you know, and then it really helps them grow. Then, of course, you know, you gotta practice, you know, and then, you know, just love what you do, love people, love yourself. A lot of people don't love themselves, love yourself, all that stuff. So, you know, you'll be all right.
He described your dad, Pastor LaVerne Thomas, as Joe Jackson without the beatings. Talk to us about your perspective on that.
And so every time around the holidays, of course, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we always bring out that old stuff, and so we have a laugh or talk about it. I brought up the old tape, and you can hear them talking as, you know, little 6-year-old, 7-year-old. It's so funny to hear their voices, you know, back then, way back then in the 90s, in the 80s, and how they're laughing and talking and then creating songs. And I said, I'm going to let your children listen to what how you act when you were children.
Yeah, from a different perspective. I mean, I definitely see where he's coming from on that, because when he saw greatness in us when we were kids, he went out and bought the keyboards. He went and bought the drums, the guitars. He bought that and was like, I see the potential here. Musically and spiritually, they go really hand in hand, because before he became pastor, when we were really little, he always played. Before there were any CDs out, you know, iPads and iPods and stuff, he had record players. He would always play records. That music would just fill the house, all kinds of records. All kinds of music, you know, the Hawkins, the Clark sisters, grew up listening to them, you know, some James Cleveland, the GMWA Mass Choir back then, you know, from the 80s, 70s, Thomas Woodfield, you know, Milton Brunson, all of those people, Thompson Community Choir, you know, got a little older, Commission, you know, grew up with them. We played a little bit of Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, you know, blues aspect, James Brown. Of course, Michael Jackson was popular back then, you know. But, you know, just authentic music, you know, this music was always going throughout the house. Always going throughout the house. When we would take road trips driving back home to Indiana, it was always music. So those sounds got in me, and they're still in me. And then, of course, you know, growing up, going to church, my father being a preacher, pastor now, he always instilled the value of life, you know, why we're here, where the gifts come from, the great music that they played on record players, where that came from. Big influence.
With sports or anything else, I would always try to capitalize on it and get what they need to, you know, to continue to push them into their interests. And I realized that music was his, and so I bought a little keyboard, see what he's going to do with that. Then I brought another keyboard, okay, and then get another instrument, and so on and so on.
I remember I was 5 years old. We went to, I don't know if he might have told y'all the story. We went out to the pawn shops, 5 years old, right around the corner from where we stayed, and bought me my very first real drum set. And I had a choice between the silver one and the blue one. He said, which one do you want? I want that one. So I chose the silver one because it sounded better. I didn't know anything about tuning, but it sounded better. So he bought that.
And I was also thinking when Jeremy was little, he went from the pots and pans to my lamps. And he started playing on the lamp. So the shade was the cymbal, and the base of the lamp was the drum. And he, you know, of course, he would use an ink pen because it gave the best sound, I guess. And he marked up my lamps, and he broke the base of the lamp. And I just decided after a couple of lamps, you know what, I'm just going to let it go because he's not going to stop doing this music all the time.
Practice. They had to tell me to stop practicing. You know, it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. Here I am, 13, 14 years old, just banging away.
And he would just play drums all the time. He didn't really want to color. He didn't want to do anything else. All he wanted to do was listen to the music and play the drums.
Jeremy, go to bed. You got to be on the bus at 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh, okay. Fingers, when I started playing the bass, I would practice till my fingers bled. You know, it's like I had to learn. You know, I almost fell in school because I practiced so much. It's not that I couldn't do it, I just didn't do it. You know, and then when I got to college, you know, my freshman year, I brought my GPA back up, and then I started shedding a little bit more. You know, kind of that balance of study and practice. But so he will always push us. You know, don't be lazy. You know, be a good steward over your gift.
Between him and his brother, they were 12 and 11. And there was a little organ, was a little organ in storage. So I looked at it and I dusted it off and I brought it home. And when I brought it home, it was no less than 3 hours. He and his brother were playing the organ, using the foot pedals and playing songs as if they had been playing it all. That was so amazing. I said, wow. And so lo and behold, we started to train them with to be the musicians here at our church. And I think Jeremy knew 3 songs, Philip knew 2 songs. And just so happened that our musician who was here, she left.
You know, if you're going to do it 100% full force. So that's where, you know, the push, the inspiration came from. Like, come on, you know. And he would let us practice, you know, have musicians come over, practice, eat, play again. You know. Then when they got tired, they're like, okay, I got to go to work in the morning. Yeah, that's too much. So yeah, I'm thankful for that. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if you didn't push us like that or bought the instruments. You know, so I'm very thankful for that. That's from here is Edward Buckley. He's the one that actually took me, and when I was 14, 15 years old, it was just like, man, when I heard him play, that's when that world I was talking about, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? So he's a great influence. And then when I got into jazz, my favorite organ player, Jimmy Smith, then Joey, Monroe, even gospel cats, man, Billy Preston, who was the 5th Beatle, you know, Harlan Rogers, Chester Thompson, who's from here, got in those guys, even the modern guys, you know, Corey Henry's out there, Eddie Brown, keyboard players, you know, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, all those dudes, Oscar Peterson, Errol Garner. I'm naming too many names. Those dudes. Okay. David Sanborn. He's a bad boy.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Dave, he's a good friend. Real humble guy. Man, who else? Paul West. He was Dizzy Gillespie's bass player. Worked with him. Another jazz was Tony Monaco. Played with him. Arturo Sandoval, we played with him on the jazz cruise ship. Played for the Clark sisters one time. Miranda Clark, she came here one time, played for her and Twinkie Clark. Sean Mitchell, Malcolm Williams. Sean came here and preached one time. Tore each other. Oh yeah, he came here and tore each other. Yeah. Who else? That's all I can think of. I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but that's all.
Use 3 adjectives to describe Jeremy Thomas. I know you say you're a servant. Tell us a little bit more.
A little bit more?
Just 3 adjectives. Shoot them out
there. Okay. That might be a little much. No. I'm a jokester. You know, I joke around sometimes. But I'm a passionate person. I'm very quiet too. But you know, I'm really basic and simple when it comes to certain things in life, but my mind is really out there. Like my mind is always searching for more. You know, it's always wanting to explore more. I want to learn more. You know, so that's kind of like the basis of who I am. You know, and whatever I can do to bring out the positive things in this world, you know, and from the greatest inspiration of all, which is, you know, Jesus, Christ Jesus the Lord, man, I'm gonna do it. So, you know, not religious, just spirit-filled.
Tell us about your future aspirations.
Along with the music, I've done a lot of I've done several conferences in terms of teaching the word, even as it pertains to music, particularly that I've done several things of teaching from a spiritual perspective, the purpose of music and what music really is. I plan to do a lot of that in the future. Really, when it comes to church, I love to focus more on the preaching and teaching aspect of what I'm called to do. Because I really love to teach, and I love to see people grow in teaching. And when it comes to the music, I love to do that outside of the church because that's what draws them into the building, So, but I like to train other musicians to have them take my place here. Another generation, it's time for, a new generation to step up and say, okay, I'm going to pass the baton to you, and then, I help out in a protocol, ministry in the pulpit, ministry outside, just reaching out to people who just need help, So I plan on doing that a whole lot more in the future, and it's already starting this year. So, it's for the people.
Yeah.
It's for the folks.
Well, we love it. We love what you're doing.
It's for us straight house. It's for you guys.
Keep it coming.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, no, your solo project, I Am. What's the inspiration behind that title?
Well, the title came from my engineer, Reggie. He said, you should call it I Am. At first, I didn't want to do it, but I did it. And it's actually named after God, because He is I Am. I'm not saying that I am. I am the one that recorded it, but I'm not I Am. I'm the one playing bass, it's like I am the bass player, I am the drummer, I am the organ player, keyboard player, the producer, all that stuff. It's like, I am the one that did it. Kind of like Sam, I am, like, Sam, I am like, yeah, Jeremy Thomas, I am. That's, but you got that aspect, but then you got the other aspect, is, it's like, okay, it's dedicated to I Am. He's the one, because He is, therefore I am able to do it. It's really open, but that's what it's based off of. So that's how we got that. So I named the title cut off of that, track number 2. So that's how we came up with that. Just kind of came like that. No thought. Well, it was thought. It was thought.
Wonderful inspiration. Where can we find the I Am?
All the internet stores, iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, Zoom Music, Spotify. Any of the internet stores. Anybody wants a hard copy, they can call Mindful Media. I don't have the number memorized, but it's on our, you can visit our website, www.jeremythomasquartet.com. If you want a hard copy, but, we live in a digital age, so people like to download the songs and the music, so you can do that. And other albums are on there too, Drop Top and stuff, so.
Drop Top. That's the latest release from Jeremy Thomas Quartet.
Yes, sir. Drop Top. That was live at the Jazz Lab.
All right. You heard it here. I Am. Drop Top. Jeremy Thomas. Looking for great things in the future. We appreciate you.
Are y'all ready? Say, baby, you mean the world to me, yeah. Let me hear you say it. So much more. Say I said, baby, 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 said it's your heart. How many of you guys believe that right now? See, I may have been attracted to you physically, but when I got to know you, I fell in love with your heart, baby. I don't care about the money, about the clothes, about the thing, about the girl, about the house. All I care about is your heart, your heart. I want you to be the woman that my dream, be the woman that I dream, be the one that I see to be with. Ooh, just say it's your heart, that's all I'm after, baby. Oh, it's your heart, that's all I'm after, baby.